And we're live. It is Monday, March 17th, which is the Ides of March as observed, because we move all holidays to Monday. It is the year of our Lord 2025. It is 8 o'clock a.m. in Washington, D.C., where I cannot lie to you and tell you that the sun is shining, because it's not. It's cloudy and overcast. But the birds are chirping, and it is going to be a great freaking day. Because cactus?
Sorry, I muted. I thought you were going to do an extended monologue.
I am, but
You're watching Dog Shirt TV, an epic revolution in morning television.
It is true that you are watching Dog Shirt TV, though Lord only knows why. And it is true that it is a fucking revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features, and as I often point out, there are many, is that sometimes I surprise Holly with the exact moment at which the cactus has to be ready to...
You always surprise Holly. Every time.
That's one of the revolutionary features. And another one of the revolutionary features is that sometimes I do the morning monologue before the cactus. And sometimes the monologue comes after the cactus. And nobody knows, including me, much less Holly, much less the cactus, which it is going to be. Look, I want to talk about politeness for a second. Now, I had scheduled yesterday a cool kind of day. I was going to wake up at the cabin in the woods. I was going to do a day full of flooring with Canadian hardwoods. Then I was going to drive back, and I was a sweaty mess, so I was going to take a shower at home and then go over to Holly's house and record a video of the two of us smashing avocados and smearing them on our faces. And the whole point of the day was to have fun and relax and not do work and have it nonetheless focus on tariffs against our allies, because we're pro-Mexico and we're pro-Canada. But these were things that didn't require much work or think. I mean, it requires work, but not, like lawfare kind of work. All right. Now, could the administration have chosen a different week to defy not one but two court orders? A different weekend? Can't you defy court orders during regular working hours?
I don't think so, actually, because I think, number one, they're trying to wreck your specific weekend because they don't like you specifically. But number two, I think they like to do shady things when they think people are not paying attention.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to focus here on number one, of which you've identified, which is I felt like this was a targeted asshole move directed at me. I understand that there's a surgeon who is now, in Lebanon because we inexplicably didn't allow her back into the country and defied a court order to put her on a plane, and that might be inconvenient to her. I get that there are 200 Venezuelans who have now been deported and are now in Salvadoran and Honduran prisons. I get it. I understand that sucks if you're them. But what about me? What about my weekend and the fact that I didn't want to spend yesterday thinking about immigration law, which is not, frankly...
You did get a avocado spa treatment.
I did get an avocado spa treatment, but then I had to, on my way over here, I had to talk to colleagues about stuff, and the goal of not thinking about the shit for a day was ruined. And I just want to say I resent it. I'm keeping score. It is an emu shirt day as a result. That is often a reflection of indignance. And I just want to say, I understand that you have a radical political agenda. I understand that you're trying to dismember our democracy and in the language of the political science literature, deconsolidate our democracy into patrimonialism. There, I have two buzzwords. But I think we should still expect civility. I think we should still expect, you to follow certain norms of politeness, like not fucking up my weekend. All right.
Wow, that was strong language. I don't know that the new discoverer of patrimonialism would approve of that. By the way, I love, okay, just Jonathan Rausch, if you're listening, watching, I love you. I think you're amazing. I cited your Atlantic piece in my Bulwark piece, my recent Bulwark piece. But with patrimonialism is a little bit like Christopher Columbus and America. Like it's been a, it's been around. I'm just saying.
Well,
But I
he
love
did.
him.
He did note that it was 100 years old, and that it had been thought. The term had been coined by Max Weber. I mean, he's
But
not
also it's in African analysis circles, it's in wide usage.
right, but I mean, he's not purporting to be Christopher Columbus.
Fine.
He's
This
just
is
saying,
just my little
I've
bugaboo.
noticed this for the first time.
This is and you know what? Good for the humility on his part. I appreciate that. And again, this is no slight to me, this is nothing personal against Jonathan Rausch. This is my little bugaboo is I just noticed that even among the well-educated classes, the elite, intellectual elite of not only America but the West, but mainly America, because the Europeans are better on this, frankly. Africa it's just something nobody pays any attention to, and I'm embarrassed for people. I'm just like, if you're gonna be an elite, like I'm sorry, you need to know a little something about everything. So it's not personal to him. He is emblematic of a wider issue that I am trying to address. But again, I write on the Bulwark about Africa, and I write in such a way that I try to make a clear American angle, even though I don't think that should be necessary. But I make a very clear, and still I don't nothing breaks through. Nobody cares. So
Well, so first of all, as somebody who writes a lot about issues that nobody cares about, um, no, I mean, seriously.
do now. They do.
Well, some of them. I mean, I spent, I left the Washington Post because I wanted to write deep on national security law, and I didn't want to negotiate with colleagues about it anymore.
Yeah.
And um, and the result is that I spent, you know, a long period of time being much lower visibility than my post presence was, and that was fine. There was nothing wrong with that. That was a choice. And there are still a bunch of issues that we write about on Lawfare that we think of as very important that get no traffic.
Like
They
Africa.
so I'm sure that's not
Right for the piece.
I'm sure that's not the lowest traffic issue. That look, when we write about Section 702, this is super, super important for a technical community and super invisible and unimportant to everybody else. And I think it's important that we do it anyway. Because every now and then there are these eruptions in which people have to have resources and have to know what they're talking about. But I look, our a lot of our, you know, Quinta Jurecic and I used to have a joke that if we wanted to maximize traffic, we would just headline every article Trump, 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 girls, 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 XXX. Um, and you know, I like we could play that game. We don't. And there is a daily sacrifice in traffic that you get for not doing everything as a BuzzFeed listicle that is about the most popular subject of the day. Well, one of the negative benefits of this is that we get less traffic than other places. One of the positive benefits of it is if you look at the front page of Lawfare, we don't sound like anybody else. Um, and there is no
And there's no like Viagra ads or like even the Post has some real sketch ads these days.
Yeah, so we don't have ads on the site at all. And we do have ads on the podcast. And we've always reserved the right to have ads on the site. But and sometimes we don't currently. And part of the reason is that honestly, the value of the ads, because the traffic level is relatively modest, the the value proposition of the ads is not that high, and so it's not worth defacing the site over. It is better to use the loyalty and seriousness about the readership to solicit money from readers and from foundations and from high net worth individuals. And if you are one of the latter, please get in touch with me about how I can solicit money from you. Um, but it's just a better business model for us. And one of the things that we get to say as a result of that business model is, okay, the 702 article or the South Sudan article that Holly is going to write for us is going to be of um, very modest traffic. But let me tell you something about the Holly Berkley Fletcher not South Sudan article, the Sudan article from a few weeks ago. The other day, I made a job offer to somebody who has recently been fired from an important government position, and I offered him a fellowship at Lawfare, and he will be starting today. And one of the things he expressed interest in was the fact that we actually did Sudan coverage because he had spent time as a young man in Darfur doing relief work. And he specifically mentioned that he was pleased that we had published that piece by, he didn't remember Holly's name, but, and so for the community that it is intended, this stuff is important. It is, uh, but we don't. Oh, we also do things like when Alicia Wanless is writing a is doing a very exploratory look at information environments, as we discussed on Friday when she wasn't here because we couldn't talk about that in her presence because she was in Helsinki. And besides, it would have embarrassed her for me to say nice things about her when she was present. I'm usually
She's Canadian.
right. Well,
He's
also
more Americans
the
here.
whole
You
game.
nice thing about me whenever you want,
When
Ben.
Alicia
Not
is on
Canadian.
screen, I have to like pretend that she thinks I'm an invading American marauder. That's the game, you know. But when she's off screen, I can say nice things about her. I can't do it when she's here. But like when she wants to float a very big idea about, not believing in disinformation and wanting to think about the information environment in certain ways, like I'm not going to ask how much traffic that gets. That's not what we're.
Yeah, so I feel like I've gotten you off your main point, which was these legal cases. I don't know how we even got here. Anyway, again, now it's just a bit of snobbery on my part. Honestly, I need a little snobbery because I am not Jonathan Rauch, clearly. I mean, he's way better than me. There's no question about that. Like, I am a peon, to be clear. So I actually somewhat enjoy my like tiny bit of snobbery here.
Okay.
Um,
So,
so I'll leave
guys,
it
I
there.
just want you to look at this and remember it, because that statement right there is the self-esteem we are all going for. I am a peon, and let me enjoy my little bit of snobbery. Um, that's it. That's all you need to know. Whenever you are thinking about the day being down, that's the mantra. You're feeling down. The world is crushing. The motherfuckers are motherfucking.
Yeah, like for instance, can I give you another example of how this so when I get annoyed, and he will never hear this, so it's fine. When I get annoyed, not because of him, but because I'm so petty and pathetic, that not Jonathan Rauch, JVL of the Bulwark has complimented another and reposted another Bulwark contributor's piece like over and over again, and yet I have written 5 that he has not even sent me a private text saying like, hey, good piece. So when I get upset about that, I think in my head, you know, would be fun is if somehow I could break into a Bulwark show and give him a quiz on just basic African things like capitals and presidents and just very basic knowledge, and watch him fail that.
As
Then that
a
makes me
kid,
feel
as
better.
a kid who grew up learning, memorizing
No, I
capitals,
think he'd fail it.
all the best capitals are in Africa,
I know, but
because
JVL would fail the
because
quiz. Trust me.
starting with Burkina Faso, because how often do you get to say Ouagadougou?
What we just say Waga. We don't do Uwaga. We just say Waga. Actually, Waga. You can just say Waga
Yeah,
as
but I
short.
like to say the whole thing because
Okay, well
it's
that's fine.
Ouagadougou, and that's
Anyway,
kind of awesome.
I'm really getting way off track, and
Or
I'm going to shut up.
Cameroon,
But
Yaoundé.
this is the small pettiness so my snobbery is cherished is the point, and that Jonathan Rauch and JVL both should sleep well at night knowing that they are both far superior than me, but I could probably best them in an Africa trivia quiz for whatever that's worth.
I
And
have no doubt of that. Hello, Alicia.
Alicia,
I'm just here to make faces. Apparently the audience likes that.
Are you you are back from Helsinki?
I am back from Helsinki, now attempting to read Finnish receipts.
Yeah, reading Finnish is tough. I've been doing Duolingo Finnish recently, and
Huomenta.
I recently learned my second cognate with English. Which, usually every other language that I've studied, I don't know, somewhere between 25 and 65% of the words are cognates, direct or indirect, or borrowed words, whatever. Finnish, I've been doing Duolingo for 3 weeks on it, and I've got 2 cognates, sauna, which is a borrowed word, and pony, which means pony, which I assume is a borrowed word in the other direction, and that's it.
To
Every other
dance.
word you have to memorize.
To dance. I think dance comes from it because it's tansia, and I
Oh,
don't
so
think
that's
that's a
going to be
Finnish
from
word.
German. Yeah, that's from German.
There's also
Um,
another one from, well, I think it's the same root. Dance, tance. It's like we're a
yeah,
Germanic language. We're speaking this. The
and in Ukrainian, tantsiovati.
the other one
What
that
is it
is
in Russian?
tanцевать.
Tantsovat?
The other one that seems to be, maybe, I don't know if the Swedes got it from the Finns, but boy, poika and poika, well, they seem to be very similar.
Right, but that's not, so poika is a good example. Most languages, you can see the relationship between boy and or child and the some English word.
Yeah, but it's not an
Not
Indo-European language.
not Finnish. On the other hand, I've never seen a language less gendered.
Oh yeah,
It is
Turks.
almost It's almost completely ungendered, which is really interesting, even compared to English, at least so far. So it's interesting.
I don't think that the Turks have genders.
Hmm. I don't know Turkish at all.
Swahili has no genders in the
What's that?
language. Swahili, there's no gender in the language, which is it's a and also clearly because it's African, it's clearly DEI. So
Right.
I
So
think
we got to
ban
abolish
it,
it.
just ban the whole language. That'll really make our relations with Africa much better. Just like expelling the South African ambassador.
Right.
That's really gonna improve things with, our already poor relationship with the most important African country. But I digress once again.
So, Alicia, what is on your mind this morning other than Finnish receipts?
All of the work I have to catch up on after a week of business travel.
Alicia should do a get ready with me video
Ooh.
on her catching up. That's what my job is today. I'm going to clean my entire house.
Your
Holly,
house.
I'm no fun.
Well,
That's
that's
why
good.
I'm
We're
on.
not allowed to have fun
Yeah,
anymore anyway. So if you were fun, we'd have to get rid of you.
exactly. That's why I fit here.
You
So
know what, though? See, there's a thing about people who think they're no fun, but they know that they're no fun, is that makes them fun.
okay, but I have a question, Alicia.
It's the people who think they're fun who are not fun. Those are the people.
That's true. Those people, that's called being insufferable. Um, uh, I have a serious question about catching up on work after a business trip.
Sure.
Um, what were you doing in Finland?
I
And
was
did you see did you did you see any of our Finnish affiliated people?
I did not, although I tried. Um, I was speaking at a conference, a cyber security conference of all things, and I tried to see Mina, um, but she was only in the city the day of the conference, and I couldn't get away because I had to speak at the very time she might have been available.
And did you um and I see from your social media posts that you were in a town called Porova.
Porvo.
Yeah, what there seemed to be a lot of snow and a pretty church there. What took you there?
Oh, okay. So, Porvo is the second oldest city in Finland, I was told, and it's about a 50-minute bus ride if you get the express from Helsinki. So my host was amazing, and not only did they invite me over for the conference, they arranged a series of meetings and then scheduled them very graciously so I could see things like the military museum, which is something I do everywhere I go. And he told me that I needed to go to Porvo, which I did. And there was a very old Lutheran church that I'm going to get it wrong, but I think it was built originally out of wood in the 13th century. And that was also where the Russians, when they took Finland over from the Swedes, basically had a diet, making all of the lords of manors come to meet the Tsar.
So did you meet the Tsar?
No, but I saw statues of a couple of Alexanders. Apparently, they really liked their Alexanders, which is interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
they did a sequence of them.
right. And then
Well,
they showed me another spot where the governor was killed by Finns. And then I turned around and there was a NATO flag, so that felt apropos.
and just assessing European religiosity for a moment, any evidence that the 13th century Lutheran Church has any current use as a Lutheran church?
Oh, the Finns are heavily still Finnish Lutheran Church. I mean, they're
Right,
very.
but there's the what you say, and then there's the whether you ever go to church thing.
Oh, I think
Any
so because there was like a little at the back of the church, basically for children to play. So, like in the church part itself, there was like pretty modern children play things
how
to.
very synagogue-y of them.
Ben, I will have you know that my high school boyfriend, who is Finnish, they were missionaries from Finland to Africa because I guess there are sufficient numbers of Christians of such religiosity that it's okay to leave Finland and come to um, Ethiopia, which has had Christianity for almost 2,000 years.
Yeah, Ethiopia's had Christianity a lot longer than Finland.
Yeah, but see, that's the absurdity of Western missions, but that's another whole topic. But anyway, again, Finnish missionary of such religiosity that they would leave Finland to come to Ethiopia.
But I have
So,
a question about that, Holly,
okay.
because I'm that confuses me a little bit.
Oh,
Um,
it's confusing.
so if you're Finnish Lutheran,
Well, they
do,
were kind of evangelical,
right,
half evangelical, half
evangelical, Holly parent type Finnish, um, do you consider Ethiopian Orthodox to be people you need to go proselytize to?
me personally.
No, 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 no. Like the boyfriend's
Oh,
family.
100%.
And
100%.
what about Greek Orthodox?
Oh, yes. No, Ben, a Methodist liberal like me needs to be proselytized. I'm going to hell,
Okay,
man.
but but why then aren't there like Holly Parent type missionaries in Russia or
Because
in
Russia puts them in jail.
in
So,
what about
There
Greece?
were. I know of Mormons who were doing that there, and
yeah,
Yeah, but Mormons go everywhere.
they go. Well, so do evangelicals, by the way.
What about Greece? There's
Oh,
no
yeah, no. Ben, you're not understanding. If you are not a really, and
Alicia, can you
if
mute
you are
yourself
not a
when you're
white
not talking?
evangelical style Christian, you can be non-white, but you have to believe all the things that the white ones do. Okay. And if you don't say the prayer, the specific prayer, you have to, Jesus Christ has to be not just some dude back, your personal Lord and Savior, and then you are going to hell.
My personal Lord and Savior,
Yes, you're going to
the
hell,
emu.
Ben. Well, you're going to hell with your emu.
The
You're riding
emu
the emu straight to hell.
the emu is my personal Lord and Savior, and
Well, good
that's
luck
just
to
all
both
there
of
is
you
to it.
because the white evangelicals run things. So,
Well, fortunately for me, um, Judaism just doesn't think about these things very much.
certainly for a lot of
It
people.
neurotically regulates what I can eat. It neurotically regulates uh, how my body should be treated when I'm dead, but it doesn't spend a lot of time thinking about what's going
You
to happen
know,
to my immortal soul. And so I'm just gonna um,
I realize
chill
it's
about it.
not necessarily true in all times and places, but I appreciate that because that energy is going into those things instead of taking over American democracy.
Right, it's great. It's going
And
into taking
so,
over Israeli
well,
democracy
that's what I'm
and
saying.
micromanaging
Well,
the
that's the whole
personal
thing about it. I said
behaviors.
not in all times and places, but in the American context, I say great. Regulate the shit out of your food. Just leave the democracy out of it.
All right, who's got an agenda item for the morning?
Oh, I have a few things, but I'm going to let Alicia talk because she's smarter than.
Alicia's like, no, I just want to sit here, do my receipts, and judge
Oh,
you
you don't
both.
want to talk, Alicia? Okay. Well, first of all, Ben, so menu, um, you could say more about these legal cases that you mentioned at the top, because I was also I was very disturbed by both of them. I also want to call people's attention to this Nicholas Kristof article in the New York Times about he traveled to South Sudan and Kenya, because you can't get to South Sudan without going through Kenya, like remote South Sudan. I'm always impressed with his travel abilities. And he like literally documented children dying because of the USAID cessation. And it is heartbreaking. And he has, there's charts of like all the people that will die in the next year. And it's like gutting. It's so gutting. And he has comment from Bono, which I've been waiting for, because Bono, of course, helped create and inspire PEPFAR and is very important
I
as
met
a
with
profit.
Bono around that time.
Oh, gosh, what is it with you people torturing me with your contact with Bono? I have never met Bono, and there is not a bigger fan than me. And someday I'm going to meet Bono, and I'm very angry at all of you who've already met Bono.
There were, of all the people
I've
who
never
I
met
met with,
Bono.
at the
I
Washington
like you.
Post, it's a whole thing when you have a cause to have a celebrity represent the cause and then get meetings with editorial pages with the celebrity and their entourage who represent the cause, who actually do a lot of the talking. These are the worst meetings that we do. I hated them, all celebrity meetings. There were
Okay.
only 3 celebrities who impressed me.
Okay. Not
Bono?
Bono? Oh, Bono did.
Bono was impressive. Yeah,
Of
he's a
course
very
he
smart guy.
was.
He
Of
knows his
course.
shit.
Yes,
Bono, Angelina Jolie,
I can believe that.
um, uh, and the most impressive of all, Bianca Jagger.
Really?
Yes. And yeah, she was very impressive. She
Wow.
did anti-death penalty work, knew a ton about all kinds of things. Um, and but barring the 3 of them, all celebrity meetings are really, really a frickin' waste of time.
Yeah, I believe that. Who you want to spill on particularly dumb celebrities?
No, that would be rude. I will
One of
say
maybe like
there
Hank
came a point in
Esteban
my tenure at the Washington
or
Post
rude.
where I would get calls from PR people about celebrity meetings, and I would say, could you just bring the activists who like I don't actually need the celebrity. Could you?
Well, imagine how outraged you might be if you are, say, a CIA analyst working on Sudan and the president, Obama in this case, you get very little feedback on your work on Sudan. And then he takes a 2-hour meeting or something absurd like that with George Clooney.
Yeah, so I am not going to
I
name
don't like.
names. I am not going to. I will say that, guys, if I were a PR agency, this is my free advice to all PR agencies: have the celebrities make the TikTok videos, the Instagram videos, and maybe have the celebrities organize the meeting. But the last thing a whole lot of policy analysts need is to actually hear from some of these people, because this is not what made them famous. They're just not that good at this stuff.
Yeah.
And again, exceptions for Bono, who's a genuinely thoughtful,
But
serious
he
guy.
spent a lot of time studying before he started speaking. So
Yeah, no, he's genuinely impressive. Angelina Jolie, impressive woman, knows a shit, knows a lot. Um, and really, Bianca Jagger, kind of in a class. She just called me out of nowhere one day about a death penalty editorial that I wrote. That's how I met her.
wow.
And we stayed in touch for quite a while. It's been probably 20 years since I've talked to her, but no, she's like very knowledgeable, and so yeah. All right.
So different celebrities own different African countries. So Ben Affleck has Eastern Congo, that's his colony. George Clooney clearly has Sudan. Paris Hilton has Rwanda. She's adopted Rwanda. Madonna has Malawi. Oprah has South Africa. Kenya's a real, like, everybody wants Kenya.
And
And
what
I
are
don't blame them.
in your experience,
Nigeria.
Nobody wants Nigeria.
I do. It's mine.
Oh, you can have it.
when you're a celebrity, Alicia, after your book, reaches #1, you can adopt Nigeria. I have a question. How do Malawians feel about being, owned by Paris Hilton, did you say?
No, Madonna.
Madonna, sorry.
So two of her children are from Malawi. One of them probably has living biological parents, but that's another whole issue with adoptions. In Africa, it's something that the U.S. previously, in the previous iteration when we cared, has tried to work with governments to prevent basically trafficking in children. But anyway, I'm not, I don't know the details of Madonna's legal case, but so in Africa, so when I was growing up, okay, in the 80s, which was a very, very long time ago, there was not much of an educated middle class. And people were universally just completely falling all over themselves for any American or Westerner, like very, very deferential. And if Madonna wants, that's an honor for us. Madonna, come get our children. That's fantastic. If a white American missionary is there, say my parents, like they are always like whatever they say goes. There's a special guest, like very, very deferential. Whatever attention, particularly white Westerners want to pay, then we're happy for that. Nowadays, there's an educated middle class in most of these countries, and they, as you might imagine, are not thrilled with the whole white savior motif. And they're frankly pretty critical of the aid industry. I think we've talked about this before. I just had an email exchange with a Malawian friend actually, who, they're upset of course about just how it's done, but they're actually they think some good might come out of the end of the U.S. aid industry in the long run, because they think anyway they're concerned about the dependency and all of the things like that. But so those people are annoyed and disgusted. But I would say the bulk of people still, like, again, Madonna, we'll give you 20 children, Madonna. We'll give you a whole town, Madonna. Whatever you want from Malawi. We're honored. We're honored. So there's kind of a divide.
How about in Canada, Alicia? How do people feel? Joking. I just wanted to see your face when How do people feel about our taking your children, about our colonizing? No, a total joke. But it's a good transition to the subject that we've talked about a little bit in your absence, but we haven't gotten to hear from you about, which is the sea change in Canadian politics. You have a new prime minister. Pierre Poilievre is like fading away like a ghost. Are you guys headed toward how should we understand what's going on in Canada other than that you guys really hate us?
Wow. I don't know if we really hate you.
I don't know. I heard a woman on the Daily the other day who, when one or the other of the Daily hosts asked her, who do you blame? She burst out, the American voter. And I felt personally attacked by that because I am an American voter, Alicia.
Well, yeah, I blame the
31% of the eligible voting public in the U.S., that's fair.
Yeah, but she did not express herself with that degree of discrimination. And I think that reflects, Canadian anti-U.S. bias.
Actually, I'd say it reflects the fact that we get too much of your news pumped into our information ecosystem, and maybe some Canadians believe that he won by a landslide. That's on you, not us.
It is part of the conceit of the show, Alicia, that I am going to taunt you and bully you as an American, and you are going to pretend to be offended. That's just, we're going with that.
You wanted to know about Canada and the change. I think it's really difficult to say. I feel like every country's political leanings are shifting with the madness that seems to be emanating from
we call it the full-scale
superpower
situation.
Yeah. So right now we do have a new prime minister, but that was something that was chosen by the Liberal Party members. He did win actually by a landslide. We've discussed this before, former governor of banks of Canada and England. The only non-Brit, I think, to be that in England. We He seems to have gained a lot of popularity, whereas Pierre Poilievre, who was really set to win, took a nosedive. But that's more a matter of it's really hard to campaign on trashing Canada and saying it's broken when Canadians suddenly feel a lot more patriotic. Um, so whether that holds to whenever the next election is, which has to be by October this year, if not sooner, that's an open question. Things are very, very unstable.
Okay, so I want to game this out from the point of view of the estimable Mr. Carney. One possibility is that you look at it and say, hey, structurally, the liberals are kind of as screwed as they've ever been, because the structure is we've been elected twice, Canadians throw out the party, you know, the economy's not so great, and there's all this discontent with the liberals. We're getting a temporary bump as a result of Donald Trump, but if you go long enough, that will fade out because the conservatives will Doug Ford it and become more combative toward Trump. And so our advantage is maximal now. So let's have elections quickly. The other way to do it is to say, hey, the trajectory is pretty good for us. We were the Walking Dead 2 months ago. Now we're highly competitive. Things will keep getting better if we let Trump beat up on Canada and I thump my chest in response and do things like that speech I made the other day. And you can count on Trump to make any leader who stands up to him look better. So let's put this election off as long as we can to give ourselves as much time as possible to establish ourselves as the people who will defend Canada and Canadianness rather than the people who were pro-truckers in Ottawa just a few months ago. Which one's he going to do? How's he going to read this?
I
And
don't
how would
know.
you advise him to read it?
So he's very, very green in terms of politics, and he didn't really do very well in the debates, particularly the French debate. So there's questions about how well he can turn himself into a political animal to campaign against somebody like Pierre Poilievre. That's an outstanding question. Nobody really knows. So I suspect what he's going to do is try to take time in order to get better at it. Now, there's been some political commentary in the country, far superior than mine, that says that maybe Canadians don't want to hear a politician at this point in time, that they're fed up with it. So possibly his more technocratic speak will go down well. I mean, it's anybody's game at this point. It's too hard to say. If it was normal circumstances, I don't think he'd win. I think not only because of the let's get our 2.5 party switch between the two parties, pattern, but also Canadians had been leaning more towards this kind of like populist, speak to the man kind of rhetoric, no matter how legitimate that was. And he just doesn't. He's very, he's very Laurentian.
Wait, back the train up here, Alicia. Did you say the French debate? Is this like a normal, did they always do this? They have an English debate and a French. Do you have to speak French if you're going to be a Canadian politician?
If you want to be the prime minister, you better.
Gosh, these Canadians are way smarter than us.
No, we're not really bilingual. It's a big, the country is officially bilingual. If you want to rise to the prime minister's office, you'd better be bilingual. If you want to have top jobs in government, you need to be bilingual. But I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think the truly bilingual in our country is sitting at like 18%, maybe tops, less than that. It's not very high.
I'm sure it's higher than here, but
I don't
still,
think it
wow,
is actually.
really?
That's
Well, so
bilingual. We do actually have more people who speak other languages than the US, according to your census. But who knows whether your census is any good or not?
yeah, but I mean, remember
Yeah, it makes a lot
the
of sense.
percentage of Canada that's native French speaking is
20%.
yeah, it's only a little bit higher than the native Spanish speaking population of the
Yeah.
United States, and the native Spanish speaking population of the United States is in fact bilingual.
Can you imagine if they made the presidential candidates debate in both English and Spanish? Like people would lose their
I mean,
minds.
honestly, it's a like I have said this before on the show, and I'll say it again. When Canada holds its elections, watch the election return on the CBC. If you ever want to appreciate how different a political culture Canada is from the United States, just watch what an election night on the CBC looks like relative to the network's coverage of a presidential election. Joel.
Hey, good morning. Sorry, I was cooking my breakfast here.
Oh wow, it's like a cooking show now.
Yeah,
Now we're like
yeah.
a cooking show.
Yeah, we got steak and taters over here. So, just real quick, sorry to interrupt. The Venezuelan airplane situation.
Yes.
Before you head out, if you wouldn't mind, I would just kind of like a 2-minute take on what in the world, because I am confused.
That's
All
pretty much
sorry.
the headline every day. What in the world? I am
Yeah.
confused.
There's a lot of that going around.
All right. Let me
so
try
anyway,
to give you
Thank you.
an
Morning, everybody.
overview of that. And I think we will. So, with both of these cases, we're going to learn more when the judges in question have hearings. I know there is a hearing in the Brown University surgeon case today. I assume Judge Boasberg will hold a hearing promptly as well, but I don't know if that's been scheduled yet. Joel, we got some serious background noise from your breakfast. If you could either
Yep,
mute
sorry.
or excuse yourself.
Well, yeah, actually, I was going to just quick. I can't kick myself off for some reason. If you would, please.
Well, I'll work on that. So what happened with this case is that the president made this declaration. There was an immediate lawsuit in response, and the judge held a hearing on the lawsuit while that hearing was ongoing, but before there was an order. The judge, the administration put 200 people on 2 planes and flew them out. The judge then, before the planes land, issues an order that requires the planes to turn around. And according to the administration's statements, or at least comments to Axios, the administration ignores them because one of the planes is already on the ground and the other is in the destination country and the other plane is nearing landing. What exactly really happened, I am sure the judge is going to want to flesh out, but I think that's sort of what we know. And so it does appear to be, depending on how you want to frame it, either an intentional violation of a court order or an ignoring of a court order because there was a determination that it was sort of too late to comply. There was no way to realistically comply. And I think you're going to have an effort by the judge. I wouldn't be surprised if it was today. It may already be scheduled for all I know, to find out exactly what happened and figure out whether the order was intentionally defied, and in which case, is there a contempt issue with respect to whom? Um, the I think that's what we know at this point, and it's not clear to me how whether there's really more information about it than that. And Joel, I don't know how to dismiss you except to I can remove you from the call entirely, which doesn't
Just
seem.
leave Joel on the
I think we're
screen.
just going to leave
He's
you here
quiet.
because
Just leave there. I like his house. It's very like woodsy. He's got his flannel shirt on. It's giving a cozy vibe. I'm comforted by Joel's presence here. So just leave him. Just leave
Yeah,
him.
I'm at the cabin in the woods. So yeah.
Oh, it looks lovely.
Yeah, I have
wanna
to I have
be-
to go home today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Meh.
Well, anyway, just leave Joel. It's giving cozy, comfort, and we like that. We
Yep.
need that.
I'm for it. Anyway, that is as best as I can tell the answer to the question at this point. I will have more to say about it. But I'm going to wait until I know what I'm talking about.
Why would that ever stop a person in this day and age?
It's a very good question, and there's much to be said for talking out of your ass. And I'm inclined to do that often, but generally not on subjects of my actual expertise. Alicia's face is again getting very expressive.
Does Alicia have some? I have one other topic if we need a topic, but
Well, I
What
think we
what
should
is
be
your
discussing Americans pretending to be Canadians abroad. I mean,
is that
how
happening?
would we do that, Alicia? Maybe you could give some advice.
okay, first of all, it is happening. I was also, by the way, just for everybody's reference, an hour and a half is not enough time to change airplanes in Charles de Gaulle or Frankfurt. Just don't. Don't. Not even if the airline says you can, don't do it. Anyway, I ran to my flight for Helsinki, and there were just a couple people in the line in front of me, and two of them were Americans talking to a French guy, and they announced how they were going to tell everybody they were Canadians. And it blurted out of my mouth because I was jet lagged, and I was like, well, then you better be nice. And then they were like, oh, where are you from?
And were there so tell us about the response. Was that were they embarrassed once you said
No, they didn't
Okay,
show any
so
shame, and they didn't apologize either.
assuming you are a nice, humble person, just naturally, as I am, and as I think Ben is, so that's a given, okay? That's a given. How if I were to go overseas, and first of all, I wouldn't be announcing to everyone that I'm pretending to be a Canadian, okay? How would I give Canadian vibes?
well, you'd change the way you pronounce the syllable, the vowel
Okay,
OU.
yeah, but I'm talking about just initial appearance. Like how do I look less American in Europe in particular? Because in Africa they still like us. So well, for now, until people start dying of AIDS, of course. But for now, I think I'm good in Africa. But like in Europe, or Canada, for instance, if I go to Canada, like how do I how do I signal like with clothing and such that I am not American?
I don't think that it's possible given the amount of times I have been mistaken for being American.
Hmm.
And you see, then what happens is there is an opportunity to explain that you are not American, and then the vibe shifts.
So you're saying that I'm gonna see it. The problem is, as I discussed with Ben yesterday, is I'm a really terrible liar. That's the problem.
You worked for the CIA and you're a terrible
I
liar.
know. I was an analyst. There's a reason that I was an analyst. Okay.
I understand.
Like Yeah, a very bad liar. Which actually they do like in certain like obviously if you're going to be an operative, that's not a good quality, but in general they love super honest people because you get tripped up on the polygraph like every time.
Okay, first of all,
So
wearing a Canada Goose coat is not going to help you, Albert. Actually, everybody in the world is walking around wearing them. I know they're not Canadians by the fact they're wearing that coat and it's like plus
uh,
5 or 10 degrees. No Canadian is going to go out wearing a Canada Goose coat in plus Celsius degree temperature.
what if we wear shorts in the winter or t-shirts and nothing else?
We don't do that. We wait until
Okay.
it's 5 degrees or 10 degrees and then we're doing it.
Yeah, so I think if you want to pretend to be Canadian, the the trick to it is to not do anything demonstrative to show that you're Canadian, but just to be um to shake your head like a little bit dismissively at American stuff, and then just sort of say I'm Canadian in a faintly disgusted fashion that, but just it's more about the way you react to American stuff than that you're wearing some giant maple leaf. Projecting Canadianness is all about, it's all about a kind of tolerant but disgusted um, uh, irritation at shows of Americanness.
What about like a Roots, like the Roots, the brand? No.
I don't think that's going to help. I think Ben's right. I mean, the one of the many things that sets us apart from you guys is that we, at least the Anglo Canadians, really inherited the English passive aggressiveness. A passive aggression is so if somebody were to mistake me for being American and that's their first question, I will wait for a second to make it even more awkward to explain that I am in fact not.
So I will say that the good folks, your friends, Alicia at Makeup Addict, responded to my video with a truly un-Canadian level of enthusiasm, and um, they responded more like makeup addicts, um, uh, you know, than like stolid passive aggressive Canadians.
Well, we can get enthusiastic. I mean, come on. Like that was unexpected attention. And I saw that you hadn't tagged them, so then I had to go and find them
I
and
tagged them.
make sure that they saw
I even invited them to be a collaborator.
it. What did they say?
Contract. I swear, you're going to get a contract. It's going to be amazing.
We're all about so until the box shows up. When the box shows up, I'm going to do an unboxing video because I've never done an unboxing video. And but yesterday, Holly and I filmed the smearing Mexican avocados on our faces thing, and uh, yeah, look how elastic our skin is. Increased elasticity. Um, and so and then we're gonna have to figure out other products. I've been filming my laying Canadian hardwoods project, and I'm trying to keep your country independent, and one makeup video at a time.
I think I want to find somebody who can talk about Canada's prospects for joining the EU. I know Ev is not a fan because he doesn't want
Yeah,
the legal
I was
regime.
Yeah, the legal regime does suck. And being ruled from Brussels does have certain downsides. What you really want is a Norwegian relationship with the EU.
It took my husband more than an hour to get through customs at the Brussels airport today. So I don't know. I kind of, the amount of travel I do, I'd like to just sail
Oh,
through.
you
It'd
want
be
to just
great.
be in Schengen?
I don't understand the Schengen versus EU thing. I don't understand why it's necessary to have two things.
Because not all
And also
countries want to
Schengen
be,
sounds Asian,
not all EU
not
countries want to be
Switzerland and
in,
Norway.
yeah, Norway's not in the
Okay.
EU, I think. Norway
It's
has
It's not.
a special relationship.
So
It's
does Switzerland.
confusing and it sounds Asian. Schengen sounds like an Asian word. I know that's probably not politically correct to say, but to me it sounds kind of Asian, like Shanghai or something.
It's a
And it
SCH,
confused me.
German.
Things
German.
that confuse me, I'm against. So I don't like Schengen. So
That's a complicated subject. I think we should do a, should Canada respond to being ruled from threats of being ruled from Washington by consenting to being ruled from Brussels show. I think that's a great subject. All right, we got to wrap. It's 9:00. It's an emu shirt day, and those are going to be always going to be, those are exciting ones. Look, may your skin be elastic, may your floorboards be Canadian, may your face be covered in avocado and from Mexico, and may you find a way to help some person who's being deported in violation of a court order, hide in the bathroom. You are all great Americans, great Canadians, great Finns, and whatever other greatnesses you may hail from. And we will see you tomorrow.